What so proudly we hailed at the twilight last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight
I'd like to thank the Lanier Choir. They did an excellent job, and I'm so proud of them, and your robes look fabulous. We cannot wait to see y'all next week at Fraser for the Christmas concert. We're really looking forward to it. Thank you again. Our combined meeting for December the 8th is now called to order. I would like to ask Bishop Kyle Searcy from Fresh Anointing Church to lead us in our prayer.
Let's bow our heads for a word of prayer. Father, we're so grateful for this evening, for the talent we just heard, for the spirit, for the atmosphere. We honor you for what you're doing. We thank you for the leadership in our school system. Thank you for the potential that's being untapped. Thank you for wisdom and ideas and strategy and unity. We ask that in this season and going forward, that you would bless in ways beyond what we can describe. We ask that you give us insight and wisdom and strategy to begin to do what's in all of our heart to do. We ask that you would bless this meeting and use it as a part of the overall plan. We thank you, we honor you, and give you praise. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Bishop Searcy. I appreciate you and all that you do for our community. Thank you. God bless you. We do have a quorum with all 7 board members in attendance. Do I have a motion to approve the revised agenda? Ms. Briers, will you turn, I think your microphone, I don't see a red light. You may need to turn it on. I see red lights, and Ms. Dawkins, I don't believe yours is on either. Oh, yeah, it is, you're right. Yours is on. Mr. Dean, I see your light too, but Ms. Briers, I don't see your light on. There, now it's on. Thank you. Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries with 7 votes. It is now time for recognitions with Ms. Mona Davis.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Last week, students across the school district participated in events sponsored by the Montgomery Improvement Association, the City of Montgomery, and others that marked the 60th anniversary of the Montgomery bus boycott. In addition to a lot of the classroom discussions and school visits we had, one of the highlights of the week of activities we had in our school where we had community members come in and actually share what it was like when they were growing up or participating in the bus boycott through a special virtual field trip we had between 3 schools, MLK, Johnny Carr, and Edie Nixon. And out of that presentation, we had a retired MPS Assistant Superintendent, Charles Peter Everett, who talked to students about what it was like being a 10-year-old boy during the bus boycott. And as a part of that, his childhood experiences are captured in a book called Peter and the Boycott. And he has partnered with the Beta Pi chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority because his daughter Yolanda actually wrote a book about her father's experiences. And they teamed up with him to provide copies of those books for all of our middle school. So at this time, we're going to have a special presentation. Sophia Johnson, would you please come forward? If you would ask some of the members of the Beta Pi chapter to join you. They will make a presentation. Superintendent Allen, if you could come down. We'll
basically, Alpha Kappa Alpha is the oldest Greek sorority within the Divine Nine. And basically, this year was our 25th anniversary, so we're considered Silver Sorors. And we like to do a service project. And what we wanted to do was, we wanted to tie in what's going on in Montgomery with the 60th anniversary. And Soror Everett, that was on that line with us 25 years ago, actually wrote the book. So we wanted to donate a copy of the book to all of our middle schools, and we've already sent those books out to the elementary schools. And one thing that I did want to say about the book, when I talked to Mr. Everett about it, he said that it was actually December 5th, 1955, the first time that he walked to school. And that was the first time that he learned what the word boycott meant. And that was so important to him. And the reason why his daughter wrote this book was that there's no literature right now, children of that age, that they can understand what was going on then. And that's why it was important to her to write a book about her dad and the boycott. So we want to present these to Montgomery Public Schools. Thank you.
All right, next we'll have a special presentation by Character at Heart. Pam Morgan.
Good evening, board members and also members out here. I tell you what, tonight has just been a special night. I feel like I've been to church, and I feel like that's what heaven's going to be like when we get there. I love them. I don't know who the principal is or anything, or the choir director, but this was fabulous. And there's so many good things that are going on in the schools of Montgomery that I'm just excited that I can still be a part of it by working with the schools. We have been busy at Character at Heart. We've had another meeting, and this time, if you remember last month, I told you we're talking about heroes, and they honestly achieved. Heroes always do. We talked about academic integrity last month. This time with the E, we talked about encouraging others. We talked about how it's so important to have your school conducive for learning, to encourage the children to learn. We talked about how important it is for the personal appearance, for academic and social to be accepted. So I feel like that's been good, but what I'm really excited about tonight, I had 5 schools that I want to recognize that they've already written their mini grants. They've already received their money, and so they're putting it in place in their schools now. And I don't know if all of them could be here tonight, and I'll tell you why. Some of them have PTA meetings and Christmas programs, but anyway, I've invited them all. But first, we have Bayers Elementary Exploration Center. And if they're here, if you'll stand, that would be good. And the principal is Liz Hill, Elizabeth Hill. Character coordinator is Sue Ann Reynolds. And the person who wrote this mini grant is a teacher, a 3rd grade teacher, and her name is Sarah Francis, and the title was Letters About Literature. And what these 3rd graders did, they wrote letters to authors. They selected their most current book that they love so much, and they wrote and told the author, thank you. They expressed appreciation for the author and what that book had meant to them. And this is wonderful for the children, accepting others and thanking them, and generosity. So I thought that was a wonderful mini grant. Then we have Halcyon, and I know they're here. They were right here. We have, and you can stand, the principal is Cheryl Fountain. The character coordinator is Lindy Cadrette. And the title was Positive Behavior School. And I'm so sorry because tonight I'm recognizing board members also, and Mr. Porterfield, Robert Porterfield, you're the board member for Bayer School. So, you know, we appreciate you, and I wanted to pull that out. And then Melissa Snowden is a board member that represents Halcyon. But, you know, positive behavior is so important, and there's positive PBIS that's in Montgomery, and their teachers and their faculty and staff and their boys and girls, they recognize positive behavior. And they want to try to just get rid of the negative behavior. And that's certainly what we're about at Character. And so they're using their grant money to help them. They use all kinds of strategies and different things to recognize children that have positive behavior. So I say a big thank you for them. Then we have Highland Avenue Elementary School. And the principal at Highland Avenue is Courtney Brown, and the character coordinator is Sharon Whiting Brown, and the board member is Eleanor Dawkins. So I want to just say thank you, Highland Avenue. They have started a program this year that's called the Highland Avenue Gals, and that stands for Girls Aspiring to Learn, Love, and Support. They have selected a group of young ladies, 3rd through 5th grade, and these are their ambassadors. They have a special club. They're teaching them great manners, but they work in the office. They help kindergartners even tying shoes with such things as that. They're also hostesses to guests, just like these wonderful guests did tonight. Ezekiel and, I forgot the young lady's name, but they welcomed me and made me feel so special, and that's what they're doing at Highland Avenue with the gals. They've expanded it this year because last year they used a mini grant to have a gents program where they recognize young men. And so this is certainly money put forth to good use that I'm so excited about for Highland Avenue. Then we have Pentlala Elementary. The principal is Shannon Smith. The character coordinator is Cheryl Whetstone, and the board member is Mary Byers. And I'm so proud of Pentlala because they've taken what we talked about last month, academic integrity, and their grant is test-taking strategies and how to overcome test anxiety. They feel that if they put this into place at their school, that this is going to help the children to develop the confidence that they're going to need to know they can do well on that test, and there won't be any need to just stretch their neck and try to look. And I think this is wonderful that they're putting into place what we just talked about last month. And then finally, we have Wilson Elementary School, and the principal is Meredith Bishop. The character coordinator is Tessa Shaw, and the board member is Melissa Snowden. And their title was Multicultural Night, Celebrating Diversity. And they're doing that as we speak tonight. They're having their PTA meeting, and this is wonderful. They have so many countries that are represented at their school, and they have put this into place where the parents, they invite them and the families to dress in their native dress, to share the history. They do a project board that they're doing. Also, they feature food of their native country. And I think this is so important for the children to learn about other countries. So I can tell you, and I'm sure that you can tell that these schools are really working, and they're really thinking about their grants and trying to use their money to improve character within their school. And I just thank each one of you, and I wish you a Merry Christmas, and hope to see you, if not in December, and January. Thank you.
Merry Christmas, Mrs. Morgan.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now have our scheduled public comments. I'm going to read the rules and procedures, if you will bear with me for a moment. Requests must be made in advance and in writing to the superintendent's office by 4:30 p.m. on the Tuesday preceding the meeting date. Request must have specified the nature of the business to be taken up with the board and the name of the person who will address the board to be added to the agenda. Communications must be respectful. Discussing specific student or employee matters will not be allowed. Individuals who have concerns that are inappropriate to be solved in this venue are welcome to seek a problem-solving meeting with the superintendent. Immediate feedback by the board may not be provided. However, you may be contacted for follow-up by the superintendent by the superintendent or her designee. Public comments may not exceed 5 minutes. The board chair has full authority to terminate the remarks of any of those comments who contain personal attacks, exceed the time limit, or are otherwise inappropriate. A speaker may be considered disruptive who continues to speak when their allotted time has ended, when asked to stop speaking by the board chair, or is otherwise inappropriate. If a person fails to comply when asked to terminate comments, he or she will be escorted to their seat, out of the auditorium, or off MPS property, depending on the level of disruption. And since we're here at Lanier, we don't have the time clock. And so Mr. Salter, I can't really see with the lights right here, is on the side. He's going to raise his hand when there's 1 minute left to let the speaker know they have 1 minute. And then we will also let them know when the 5 minutes has terminated. So our first person is Ms. K.T. Brown.
Thank you and good evening.
Good evening.
The children were beautiful. The robes were beautiful. I was asked to ask you, within the monies that are coming in, they would like for that money to be used not only in the magnet program, but in the regular program also. There are so many things as you walk into the school that need to be done, and we need to do them. I'm coming back again to you about that transitional counselor. We need the counselors to work with the children. When you go into the school and the counselor does not even know the children's name, you wonder what is their purpose for being there. So we need to get in our meetings and come up with something so that we have somebody to work with these children who are coming from Head Start or coming from home, or wherever they're coming from into the system, so that they'll know the rules and regulations and what needs to be done. We talk about the good children, but we got to talk about the children that are coming in there and don't know what to do and how to do it, and we need to train them. We need somebody there to train them. We need somebody to work with them. In doing this, then we need to work with our counselors, because their job is not to be officials of the school. Their job is to be there to work with our young people as they come into our school system. So please, in your meetings, talk about the fact that these children are in need of help when they come into the school, or they pick up the habits, the bad habits, as they walk into them. I also received information to ask you about. They say you have a dress code for the students. Why don't you get one for the employee? When I walk into the school and I can see the thighs or the cleavage of the instructors that are instructing our children, it makes you stop and wonder what happened. You need help in that area. And if I see where you need help, whether you like it or not, I'm going to come and let you know. I thank you for accepting my comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. The next person on the list is Mr. Dan Taylor.
Yes, last month when I addressed you, speaking to you about our daughter not being able to get in school due to failure to assign her to a school. When we spoke last, Ms. Allen, you let us know that you had this documentation from your staff to let us know that what I was saying was incorrect. And as I stated, I record everything, and I have documentation to prove that everything I say is indeed a fact. When the meeting concluded and we spoke, you said that we received a communication on September the 23rd. I showed you my detailed phone bill to show you that we had not received a phone call from your staff. We also did not receive the zone variance acceptance letter that we receive every year when our boys' zone variance is accepted. All right? We also have a problem, especially this being the 60th anniversary, and I mentioned it in October, that our children have disabilities that you are aware of and have been aware of the entire time they've been in this school system. It requires them to be in a central heated and cooled environment. Each one of you have a copy of that letter right now I had Renee give you at the beginning of the meeting. On that letter, the doctor states that their classroom environment should consist of centrally heated and cooled environment. Okay? Your District 504 coordinator, the Student Support Services Director, has said that our children do not qualify for transportation now because there's no central heat and air on the school bus. There's not a single vehicle made that has central heat and air. But has anybody done anything or said anything? And I've been addressing you since August. Actually, I addressed you August of 14 in regards to this. We've been denied our basic rights to a free, appropriate public education that is afforded to us under the Americans with Disabilities Act by your 504 coordinator, who has given us the zone variance every year due to their medical necessity involving their immune system. The very first item defined by Congress as a major life's bodily function. The immune system. That is the law. But your employee is failing to follow the law. And you are failing to address your employees. You're taking their word instead of taking up the parent's issue with recorded documentation emailed to you. And Ms. Snowden, I've emailed this to you as well.
That's fine, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Was I out of line?
No, you go ahead. No, go right ahead.
Okay. So, I want to tell you this again. Truly, he will reply, whatever you have not done for the least of these, you have not done to me. Matthew 25:45. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
I'd like to address him, please.
Okay, go right ahead.
Mr. Taylor, as I've always stated when you have come up and spoke to the board, I appreciate your efforts each and every time you come up.
Yes, ma'am.
You are clearly an example of a parent, just like teachers, that I feel have been retaliated against. So I hope you will continue to show what parents do, as I continue to show the teachers that have been retaliated against and the staff.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
Because it's
you.
not happening to just us. It's happening to other students.
Everyone.
Y'all have a blessed day.
Okay, now we're going to go on with our citizen comments. Citizens may sign up for comments before a board meeting. Citizen comments must be on agenda items. Forms for citizen comments will be available 30 minutes before regular scheduled board meetings. Agenda topics to be addressed must be identified on the form in order to speak. Individual citizen comments may not exceed 3 minutes. A total of 30 minutes are allotted for all citizen comments. Communications must be respectful. And the rest of it is what I've already read before with the public comments, so I'm not going to repeat myself. We do have one person on board to speak. Her name is Karen Jones.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm speaking on 5A, piggybacking off Ms. K.T. Brown, our children. Our children are being forced with tremendous injustices in Montgomery Public School System. Our children are not being given quality education. They're not being given free, appropriate public education, not being given special ed services. And it is with great displeasure to know that our superintendent working in the special education department for over 30 years. And you should have some semblance of what it means for our special needs children to be neglected. Our children are being raped, sexually exploited, they're being arrested, they are being criminalized, illegally searched, having their civil rights taken, human rights taken, and nobody is standing in the gap on MPS side but to lend a deaf ear to the cries of the children. It is so sad, and I'm so frustrated because I don't make this up with our children because I have no children. People find me, people from the DHR side to when they try to go and sign warrants side. I don't just have a sign that I wear daily that says, if you have a problem with FPS, I'm here until after they call. I go out there and lend my support. Our children are being, again, having a disservice to them. You are failing the children. And nobody deserves another contract when your own employees are not following board policies, federal policies, or state policies. Even these little rules that you gave out. Federal law says we have freedom of speech. The board wouldn't know anything that we're talking about if we don't name Coach Webb, Mr.
No,
F,
I'm sorry, you cannot
Officer
call
Knight, who make
No, ma'am, you
children
may be
get down
seated.
to their underwear.
You may be seated.
Dan Taylor.
You may sit down. Security, please have her removed.
I'd like to comment, amen, amen, amen. Thank you. Just speaking the truth.
Good evening. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report.
Are you denying me the right to talk? Please report this, because if you tell me yes, this is
We'll go on. Is this on?
violation.
Okay.
Tell me.
Ms. Jones, the only thing that was wrong was you used names. What you said was the truth, but when you use the names, that's why they're asking you to leave. I agree with you wholeheartedly, and all I can say is amen. You speak the truth. You were just
Thank you,
wrong to
Dr.
mention
King.
names.
Thank you, Dr. King.
Madam President, may I?
Yes, ma'am.
And I know we don't address comments and what have you, but I know of a situation that's in my school, one of my schools, and I have talked to the superintendent about this. There is an ongoing investigation. There were some other things that were being done, and there will be some things that will be done after this meeting. But just give us a chance to do. We are aware, and the superintendent is aware, and she's one person, but she is trying to take care of some of these situations. And the one that was at my school, the moment I heard about it, I got in touch with the powers that be, and I do know that, I won't say give an opinion about it, but I felt that something needed to be done, and needed to be done soon.
We can't come and tell y'all what's going on.
But Karen, you can pick up the phone. Karen, and I was speaking, Karen, what you need to do, you know all of the board members and their schools. If you would pick up the phone and call, put us on speed dial, because we are all concerned about our children. And I know that you're concerned because I've talked with you through the years. But you can't do that in an open meeting because everybody's innocent until proven guilty, and that's just the way of the law.
Yes, so,
Ms. Jones, thank you. You can come back again. All right. Next item on the agenda is superintendent's report. Board members, you have a sheet at your desk from the superintendent.
Okay, before I begin with that report,
Just want to say that our enrollment this year is 30,244 students. Each student is important, and it's the responsibility and the pleasure of this system to serve these students. Things sometimes go wrong with some of them, at least daily. Sometimes things go very wrong, and we've had situations where some things ended even in death. And we're always saddened by the hurt and pain that our students and our families endure. What we find is that on occasion there are situations that are preventable in nature, had precautions been taken. And as a result, we have to deal with adults in that picture to evaluate the circumstances, to plan for solutions and interventions so that the same things won't happen again. Even with plans, we all know that sometimes they do. Sometimes communications fail. As a result, we plan again for solutions and interventions so that the same mishaps won't happen again. Sometimes they happen and catch us totally by surprise. As a result, we regroup, we plan for solutions and interventions so that if those things happen, we'll be ready for the next time. If MPS, from the time that I have been a part of this school system, could take back any harm proposed or imposed on a student, we would definitely do that. We do not sit in position for the cause of harming children or seeing children harmed. That is not the purpose for our being. I'm very disappointed when we fail. It's not our intention to fail, but sometimes it does happen. We plan to learn, and we do learn from every situation how to do better. That doesn't change the situation that happens, but again, it's our responsibility to try to find precautions and solutions. I, as superintendent, am responsible for what happens in the district. The principals and their staff have been assigned to help to keep children safe and to educate them. They are told very often that that is indeed their responsibility and the expectation of this district. We will continue to do that. We will continue to persevere and seek to make improvements where improvements are needed. Public comments and citizens' comments are on the agenda for the purpose of hearing what the citizens and the public has to say. We are not offended by what you feel. We want to work with the community, and we rely on the community on many occasions to provide for us information that will help us to do our job. As I indicated from the beginning, we're talking about 30,244 students. And if we give a parent to each one, we're talking about 60,000 people. I'm very delighted that there are not 60,000 parents in the audience at this point with issues that are coming before us now. But I do realize that even if there is one, that there is a concern that we must deal with. So at this time, I'm going to, I have an availability, Mr. Taylor, in the morning at 8 o'clock. I can be at my office, and I welcome you to come to my office if you really want to solve your issue.
All right, I'll be there.
Thank you. Now to my regular board report. Thank you, board member, for allowing me to,
Thank you very
just
much.
say that. What you have on your desk is a document that talks about a new act from the federal government that is replacing No Child Left Behind. No Child Left Behind was governance from the federal government for 14 years, and now it's being replaced by Every Student Succeeds Act. The act was to have been completely finalized today. I have not gotten word that it was, but these are some of the details regarding it. I highlighted in yellow the things that you may want to attend to as you begin to be familiar with this act. It's, according to many, it's an improvement over the current law, because what it does is it allows state and local education agencies to be able to have more explicit say in what they do in the district. Under details, you will see that under assessment, we're still going to have annual assessments, meaning that every child in grades 3 through 8 in math and ELA, and once in high school, they will have to have that assessment. Under standards, we still have to have high standards. However, what this law does is it allows us to not necessarily have to do Common Core. It says in there we can do Uncommon Core if the state chooses, or generate another assessment, another set of standards. The bottom line is that each state has to have high standards. Under accountability, there are quite a number of things. I'm not going to go through all of these, but if you would just pay attention to the highlighted areas, it will give you a good bit of information and a good bit of clarity, actually, on what this new law is going to be about for us. One specific thing that I want to bring up is in regard to Title I. What's going to happen with that? They are all school improvement grants, as it says on page 3, are going to be consolidated into Title I with a specific set aside that is going to be, that has been identified. So there are quite a few pointers in here that are going to impact MPS and all other school systems, and I think this is very valuable for us to begin planning, because in that are also a number of grants that are going to be available. And we don't want to wait. We can go ahead and begin to think about how many we might want to begin to apply for these particular grants. So that is my report for today.
Madam President.
Yes, ma'am.
Looking at, under the accountability, meaning if you can improve student learning achievement in 1 year, it said you could get off the list, but it also stipulates if the state structures it that way. So it doesn't mean that you stay on the list for 3 years, you
Right.
can get off the list, but they have to structure it this way.
Right.
So do you know if there are plans to structure it? Is the two brand new to know right now?
It's 2 brand new.
Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
But
thank you.
I'll keep you posted on it.
Okay.
Yes.
I have a question on page 2. Margaret, it's under interventions, second bullet. You didn't highlight it, no, excuse me, the first bullet, you didn't highlight it, but it says here the state could take over, fire the principal, convert to a charter. Do we plan on doing anything about, if you look at our current ACT scores where we had, 65, 75% of our students that are not college ready? Are we actually going to take any part in getting rid of some of these principals? Since they are hiring the teachers. You didn't highlight it, but it says it here. Are you as a superintendent, is that in any way part of the game plan?
This particular act that I'm sharing with you today is a federal act. I understand what you're asking me, Dr. Keith, but I wanted to separate what it says here from what we are actually doing in Montgomery Public Schools. This federal document will become the law for us If you continue to read through, under accountability, it says that these plans go into effect over the 17-18 school year. If you also read the full sentences, the whole paragraph that goes with particular pieces, you can see that the state does indeed will have the authority to do some of these things. And as the state proposes its plan, this is the federal, there will be a state plan. The state plan will offer guidance to each individual LEA.
But the reason for my question, Margaret, was because that's where we got into trouble before. The state thought on the local end we were supposed to do it. We refused to do it. My question was, I'm not asking if the state, I've already seen what the state's going to do. My question was to you personally, as a local superintendent, do you plan to implement anything like that? Or are we going to wait for advice from the state like we always have? Because if that's the case, nothing's happening.
Well, we generally, Dr. Keith, do follow the guidelines that the state provides for us. And they follow the guidelines that the federal government provides
Right, but
to them.
you still haven't answered the question.
Okay.
And Robert, everybody's going to absolutely. Will you personally do something about on the local end to schools that are not achieving what they should be achieving as far as being college ready?
Yes, we will do something, and if that something may not be firing the principal, if that's what you're asking.
So what you're basically saying is we're not going to hold a principal accountable that we have said hires the teachers that are supposed to be teaching these. That you've answered my question.
There are other ways to hold principals accountable, and we will continue to do that.
And would you say our scores reflect that?
Beg your pardon?
Would you say our current scores on the ACT reflect that whatever we're doing is right?
Our current scores on the ACT reflect the fact that we have some children who need us, who need work from every administrator, from me, from every central office staff member. That is total evidence that our students need us. That's what those scores say. They need parents. They need the whole community to help them be ready for whatever they want to do in their lives.
And it starts at leadership, Margaret.
Absolutely.
Well, I have a comment on that. You say it starts at leadership. It doesn't start, education doesn't start and end at the schoolhouse door. It goes into back to home. If they don't have people supporting them at home, I don't care who you got in the school teaching, they need support in and it follows poverty. Poor children don't have the resources, they don't have the support, and to lay it all at the feet of the teachers and administration is wrong.
And I totally agree, but when you are hiring unqualified teachers to do jobs that they need to be qualified for, and you are telling me your definition 2 weeks ago was a qualified teacher is somebody that doesn't have an emergency certificate, qualified to me means master's degree, specialist degree, doctorate degrees, and teachers that can teach, not friends and family in the classroom.
Dr. Keith, thank you. Yes, Mr. Porterfield.
Look, let's not get off tangent here. Look at the realization of this situation. Teachers are special. It takes a special kind of individual to even pursue a degree in education, and recognizing the atmosphere that these teachers tend to be a part of and what they have to deal with on a daily basis, and looking at the fact that there's shortages of teachers, and certainly I think that HR tends to go out of its way to find the best qualified individuals out there to certainly support our children and teach our children what they're in place to teach them. And when we start putting the fault on those individuals who work hard and diligently every day and helping our children and meeting the needs of these children, I think it's a disservice when you come before these groups out here and you badmouth teachers and our administrators when they are working hard on a daily basis to provide those children with what they need to have in order to be successful in life. When we look at the ACT, I think everybody here knows that last year we started out with the piloting of the ACT. Benchmarks were set. And as it relate to the base scores being set, then we look at benchmarks that each of these schools will have to measure up to in this coming year. I don't think you need to be so premature in claiming that our children are failing. Giving them opportunity to see where that growth is. And I think this is all about growth. And instead of coming and bad-mouthing what we are doing in the system, see if you can find ways and means to help in any way you possibly can to support our teachers and administrators.
Thank you, Mr. Porterfield. Board members, are there any other comments?
Madam
Yes, Ms.
President,
Brown.
I concur with most of what Barbara said and the superintendent. But I have been around here long enough to know that there's not a principal or a teacher in this system who gets out of his or her bed every morning to come up here and fail our students. That's number one. But when we come here to this board and every time we have a meeting, we have an axe to grind because of what may have happened to you, that we don't need that. If we have meetings, we have workshops, if you have all these excellent ideas, then bring it up in some of our workshops. But to come here every meeting and talk about what the principals are not doing, what the teachers are not doing, what the students are not doing, I don't know about the rest of you board members, but I'm tired of hearing it. If you have a problem and you think that we have a problem, then give us some suggestions as to how we can solve those problems, because I don't think anybody at the central office is down there because of their cousin or their son or their daughter. And we need to stop saying that. And the principals don't hire all of the teachers. They still have to go to HR. I mean, so we need to stop saying that we get here, we get a little bit of the truth, and then we add our own little personal gripes to it, and we can't get anything done. If we are here for the students, then let's be about the students. I am sick and tired of all this griping.
Thank you, Ms. Byers.
I'm not finished, Madam President. I'm not finished. I'd like to make a statement.
Wait, just one moment. We're going to follow Robert's Rules of Order here. Are there any other board members that have anything to add to that? Dr. Keith, go right ahead.
If I've made it seem like I think all teachers and all principals are not doing their job, I think probably 90%, 85, 90% of the teachers and principals are doing a fabulous job, okay? If I seem like I have an axe to grind, I'm the one that the public actually voted for me to be their voice. And I didn't interrupt you. Okay? I didn't interrupt you. All I'm saying is we have people moving out of Montgomery in the droves because this board won't do anything about it. And because I'm one voice, I will continue to speak. You did nothing. You said a small truce. When you have the newspaper, the news, when you have our state superintendent tell you that we have grade changing that is systemic, and we do nothing, we leave the principals there, and not only do we that, we hire the principals that were the assistant principals under them to now be principals. You're not doing anything to change anything. And I refuse to sit here and tell anybody that I have, for you to say I have an axe to grind, when all I'm doing is telling you the truth.
Thank you, Dr. King. Okay, we are going to move on to 8, receive this information. Ms. Wooden, the August and September finance report.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
President, Vice President, board members, Superintendent. I left a folder for you today. I know you in your packet you got the August and preliminary September. Kind of just want to focus a little bit on August, and we're going to kind of get into September where we are and with the finances. In the memo in the folder, it indicates that all bank accounts have been reconciled. When we looked at the month of August, we looked at the accounts payable expenditures. We paid out $5.1 million in invoices. When it comes to payroll expenditures, we paid $17.9 million. That's 12.9. gross salaries and $5 million in benefits. The thing we always want to talk about is the general fund. We talk about the general fund because that's something that we can control, and we kind of have due diligence to make sure we spend the funds accordingly. Through August, that's 91% of the budget year. The ad valorem is up 5.8% from last year. 1 cent sales tax at that date was 18.3 million, and the general fund balance at that point was 17.7 million. Also in your package, I did a preliminary September, and I say it's preliminary because at this point, finance is actually going through the closeout procedures. And also in that, you see a desk review. When I say a desk review, that's something that's provided by the state. We literally have to go through each one of those items and make sure our expenditures are adhered to those things. And so what we have decided to do before we actually close out, because as you know, September is the closeout month, and that's kind of the end of the fiscal year. We have literally went through each fund by fund, looking at every expenditure to make sure those things are coded correctly and those things that will benefit us with the coding. As you know, most of our funding comes from how we're coding things on our financial statements. So we're in the process of closing out, and as I stated, we go through each fund by fund, we look at expenditures, but not only that, if there is a variance that shows some concerns, we have literally driven down and find out what those concerns are. So when I come back to you next month at the regular board member, and when we do our closeout for September, I'll be able to provide you some history behind those variances. But not only that, if there is a variance, we're digging in. When I say that, the process before was manual. So if there is a concern with some variances, we literally have to go and find the source document because these things are not in the computer. So that's kind of what the timely issue is. We're looking at anything that's when we say variances, anything that we feel like is out of the ordinary. And also we are implementing, as you know, the electronic purchase order system. And so the finance is also doing that. We're continuing doing our training and implementing that. And also that helps with the local schools because now the local schools does what we call a requisition. Before that was done, but not kind of in the way that uses the computer. And the computer is going to help us in the budgeting process because that's going to be the mechanism that helps us monitor the budget. We can put in the computer with the budget amounts and they will keep us aware of where everybody is. And before that was kind of hard to do because this process was not in place.
Ms. Wooten, when will that electronic process be completed?
It's implemented. People are using it now. We're still doing training on some. We still have a few departments that haven't had that one-on-one training. But their system is actually being used now. We implemented it, I tried to start using it October 1.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Ms. Wooten, have you found many principals and teachers actually using the information that you're providing to them and not calling in to you like they had been in the past?
Yes, I have. And not only that, but it helps with the biggest thing, I think, is the Title I. Because before they really had to rely on the Title I office and finance to give them any information about Title I. But each principal have access to the next gen software, which is our software we use in finance. And we've been training and sending out training documents of how to log on and how to get in and print those reports so they can have them in real time.
Great.
Well, I was happy to hear you were doing that, and I'm glad to know that they are, beginning to implement that at their schools.
And so at the next regular board meeting, we'll probably have a really more detailed drill down of numbers for September. We're going to go step by step by the funds, and we're going to let you know what every number means and kind of the history behind each number. Y'all have any questions from what's been presented?
Is it normal for us to run 90 days behind, I guess?
It is not normal, and we have contacted the state, and we contacted the state, and we told them that we're implementing a new system. But before we totally closed out September, we wanted the opportunity to drill down to find out some of these variances because without the computer, like I said, the research thing is kind of what's taking effect because it is manual, and you really have to find the source documents when you have variances. If you want to find out what is the variance, you really go back to where these numbers come from. Is these numbers coded correctly? Should these numbers be put here for us to take advantage of these expenditures? So it's really the research that's taking the time. But we have had a conference with Dr. Craig and indicated, hey, we would like you to allow us this time to research these items because this is where our funding comes from. How our expenditures is coded determines our funding. And so they realize that and understand the importance of that and has allowed us to do that.
So what kind of timeline are you looking at to where we're getting a little bit more up to date.
Pretty much September is the big haul to get over, because as you know, September really falls in the last fiscal year, and so I'm kind of taking in somebody else's budget, and so I kind of have to get in that mind frame of how that works and to close that out. But as we close September, anything else should fall in place, because that's a system that I implemented and I understand where all the numbers are coming from.
So your timeline is,
Well, we will be closed out, and I will be giving you September's on the next board meeting.
right,
Mhm.
so October, November,
They should go just like that within the next 30 days.
okay.
You know, the
So
first-
then, in the next 30 days, so by February 1st, we should
we should be caught up.
completely caught up and then be right on line.
Yeah, the thing, right now, the thing that's holding us up is September.
Okay. Any other questions, board members? Thank you, Ms. Wooden. Okay, 8B, construction contract for MPACT, Mr. Dotson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Madam Chair, Madam Superintendent, members of the board. You should have before you the construction contract. If you recall at an earlier meeting, you voted to the most responsible bidder, Hutchinson Construction. You have before you a contract which also includes a base bid of $7,350,000. We were able to, through value engineering, add 3 of our alternates. So we were able to add 3 of our 5 alternates. So that gives you a total contract sum billed out of $7,244,442. I'll entertain any questions.
Is this the first time that we've used Hutchinson?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I'm excited. I'm ready to get it.
Now,
started.
with that, you should actually see dirt moving at both MPACT and Lovelace by the end of December. Relative to Lovelace, we are expecting to have the contract ready for bid probably between to the building commission before Christmas. We're looking for a bid date late January and subsequent mobilization probably mid-February, so we can plan for a groundbreaking probably sometime in late January.
Just in time for the cold weather.
If you recall, we presented with you a synopsis of what we were trying to do, and we actually are at a point now to where we've worked with the 4 craftsman positions that you have before you, which are carpentry, electrician, HVAC, and plumber. We are going to actually have those positions now to where they actually have a staircase or a subjective viewpoint in what is a level 2, a level 3, a level 4, and a level 5, which makes it a lot easier for us to determine, you know, how do you get to that position? If you're in a 2, how do I get to be a 3? In the past, it's been so ambiguous that we found ourselves in a lot of trouble, and I think this is the beginning. We're not there yet, but this is the beginning of finding some daylight to where we're trying to go. In addition, you have a revised salary schedule that you will look at, and basically on this schedule, there's the only difference you see is would be in the 4 and the 5, where we've adjusted the pay scales there to make it more attractive as we begin to hire. Now with maintenance right now, we're down several positions, so where the next step is to just basically, and I think I presented to you a reorganization chart some time ago. Now we're ready to implement parts of that to where we can probably have more efficiency and happier employees as well. Now, the brain trust behind this project was, of course, Ms. Scipio and Dr. Boswell. So as I said at the early meeting, they're a lot smarter than I am, so I'm going to allow them to answer any questions you may have.
Well, I've got one probably for you, Mr. Dotson. Out of curiosity, since we just talked about MPACT, are there ways that we can get maybe some students that are going to graduate that are maybe certified that we could say, hey, you know, we've got some positions that we're training them for right now?
Yes, ma'am. Especially with the certifications that they will have coming out of MPACT,
right.
They will be able to come in probably at a level 3 position because they will have some certification.
Okay.
The only thing will be the experience. So yes, ma'am. And as a matter of fact, relative to getting back to MPACT, on some of the alternates that we were not able to include into the bid, we're actually talking with the teachers
Great.
to see if those are some things that they can work with the students they have done as well.
Oh,
Some of the
that's
HVAC system, those kinds of things.
I love
To
it.
save
That's
us.
ownership in their school too.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if I'm reading this right, the salary schedule for, you said the third level, is that right? Okay, Ms. Scipio, bear with me. So what would that starting salary be? Is that, am I reading that right? It would be $30,854? So for a 17, 18-year-old, that's not bad at all.
And actually, the level 2 and 3 are the same as what we have now. We have a combined salary schedule now that's called Trades and Crafts that has level 2 through 5. So this level 2 and level 3 amounts are the same exact as what we have now. What we changed was 4 and 5, and we started 4 and 5 at higher levels than what we currently do.
Right.
But the 2 and the 3 are the same as what we have now.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, I am just happy to see this. Some of the problems that we have had in the past was because we didn't have anything definitive that we could point to and say, this is the salary. When you have a person working side by side doing the same thing and they're getting one salary and somebody else is getting another. But this will be, it would lessen the headache that you had.
Well, and I'm so excited to hear that you could actually have some of our students at MPACT actually working on their school. That's really neat. That's a great story to tell. Any other comments? Okay. All right. The next item is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
Madam President, I move that we adopt item 9A, B, and C.
Second.
All right. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion carries with 6 votes. If you would please pass your pink papers to your left, that would be great.
I was happy to see we only have one, so we must be doing something right.
The next item, 10A, consider for approval the personnel report.
Madam President, before we do that.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm not being funny or facetious when I say this, but if you look at 20, hold on, I need.
Which one are you on?
29 on certified personnel minutes.
Okay. Give us 1 second. We're flipping as fast as we can. 29.
Are we giving maternity leave to males?
I believe that's a female.
Is this particular person a female?
I am pretty sure.
Is it? Oh, okay. All right, just want to know.
Hey, Ms. Fryers, I have a nice young girl named that too. Okay, so, Madam Superintendent.
Okay. I recommend the approval of the personnel report, certified and support personnel, and addendum 1 support personnel.
Madam President, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation on the classified and certified personnel reports and the addendum.
Second.
Do I have any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. And I'm going to need to abstain. Motion carries with 6 votes.
Okay.
All right.
I recommend the approval of the construction contract for MPACT.
Madam President, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for approval of the construction contract.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, abstain. Motion carries with 6 votes. Before we go into executive session, I would like to ask Dr. Williams to come forward to speak to us for a moment. I don't see him.
He's here.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Come on. And Dr. Williams, we thank you so much for opening your castle to us.
No, thank you all. No speech, just really want to thank you all for choosing Lanier High School to host the board meeting. And so Superintendent Allen and members of the board, we do have some special gifts for you, some special Lanier gear. And so those are great items to have around this time of the year. They make great Christmas gifts. So
Thank you.
yeah, something to carry out as well. So we do have our school T-shirts, our school Be What We Make It is in the back, as well as a coffee mug and maybe a few other items. So hope you all enjoy.
Thank you very much, and Merry Christmas.
Yes, thank you all.
Now, we also, the next item on the agenda.
And I'd like to
Oh,
also
yes,
thank
ma'am.
Ms. Cuba Ray Hayes for all the hard work she begs everybody with a paycheck, helping to get
Thank
the
you.
uniforms and all of that.
Yes, thank you. We can certainly tell a difference in the students' attitudes, and the climate and culture is so different, and it's very encouraging, and everything just looks great. So we're mighty proud of the Sydney Linear Poets. The next item on the agenda is executive session, and I'm going to ask our board attorney, do you mind certifying this is for pending litigation? Okay, she doesn't have a microphone, so just to let y'all know, we will be in executive session for pending litigation for about 15 minutes, and there will be a vote coming out after that. Do I have a motion?
Madam President, I move that we go into executive session to discuss pending litigation.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstain? 6 votes.